Okay, so tonight, following on with the parts of the mind, the 5 all accompanying mental factors with each of the consciousnesses, mainly the mental consciousness. We're looking at attention and intention and opposing desirous attachment, or opponent force. Meditation D. So without further ado, if you've done your preparatory practices. Attention. Definition of attention. The definition of attention is a mental factor that functions to focus the mind on a particular attribute of an object. An eye consciousness, for example, is moved towards the general entity of an object by the mental factor intention, but it is the mental factor attention which focuses that consciousness on a particular attribute of that object. Intention is said to be like a horse travelling along a road, whereas attention is said to be like the reins that direct the horse. Thus, a primary mind focuses on the general entity of its object through the power of the mental factor intention, and on particular attributes of the object through the power of mental factor attention. Attention has 4 functions. 1. To focus the mind on a particular object. 2. To fix the mind on that object. 3. To prevent the mind from moving from the object. And 4. To serve as a basis for mindfulness and concentration. Without the mind being focused and fixed on an object through the power of attention, there is no possibility of developing mindfulness and concentration. Every mind has a certain degree of attention, though some minds, such as non-ascertaining perceivers, have very weak attention, whereas others, such as those that occur when we are in an agitated state, have unstable attention that flits from one object to another. To develop concentration, we need both strong and stable attention. We need, next bit I've written, right, that was from How to Understand the Mind, but this next bit I've written. We need to have attention on the practice of non-attachment, recognizing the impure, contaminated nature of our object of desire, the many disadvantages of desirous attachment, and the impermanence of these things. We shall not be fooled by appearances. Knowing that objects of desire are transitory and do not lead to satisfaction and pure happiness, we focus and fix our mind on the unsatisfactory nature of samsaric pleasures. The best we get is a reduction in temporary pain. Yeah, so that's a changing suffering idea. You need to get an idea. Need to understand that. Divisions of attention. There are 2 types of attention whose object exists, and incorrect attention whose engaged object does not exist. All wrong awarenesses have incorrect attention. Wrong awarenesses, delusions. There is another 2-fold division of attention: appropriate attention and inappropriate attention. The former is the same as correct attention, and the latter is the same as incorrect attention, from which our delusions arise. 1. We continually pay attention to the nature of samsaric pleasures. Dissatisfaction, transitory, impure, a waste of time, not as fun a tantric practice, and carries the risk that we will commit non-virtuous actions to consume more object of desire. 2. Inappropriate attention focuses and fixates the mind on the apparent good qualities of objects of desire, exaggerates their apparent good qualities, and develops desire for those objects. It only acknowledges that a sensual experience, was a moment of pleasure, but exaggerates those qualities and comes to believe that objects that are external to the mind can cause us happiness. The next bit I've written. To overcome inappropriate attention, we need to disbelieve the appearances of inherently pleasant objects that habitually appear to our mind. We need to remember that objects of desire are by nature deceptive. The best we ever get is a moment of reduced pain. This experience is always dependent upon our mind and what went on before. Reduction of pain can never be pure happiness. Just like hitting our thumb with a hammer over and over again will never change into a source of pleasure or happiness. But conversely, eating ice cream will turn into suffering. We never experience that moment of pleasure the same way as that perfect moment, because it does depend upon our mind, whether virtuous or non-virtuous actions are ripening in this moment. Therefore, it never comes from the object, but originates from our own mind and ripens from karma. Samsaric pleasures are meaningless, like licking honey off a razor's edge. Intention. Definition of intention again. The definition of intention is a mental factor that functions to focus its primary mind on an object. Sorry, we've done attention at the beginning. It is only through the mental factor intention that our primary mind is able to focus on its object. Without it, our mind would be motionless. Although our body remains in our room, our mind can travel wherever it wishes because it has the mental factor intention associated with inner wind. Next bit I wrote. When our mind becomes involved with an object of attachment, it becomes absorbed into that object like oil soaked into cloth. Just like a cloth needs to be cleaned before we can colour it with dye, our mind needs to be purified from the illusions of desirable external objects that arise from impure causes. Instead, we need to become absorbed into a pure object, such as tantric practices. Function of intention. The principal function of intention is to create karma. Of the three types of karma, or action, bodily actions, verbal actions, and mental actions, intention itself is mental action. However, it is also the cause of bodily and verbal actions, because all the bodily and verbal actions are preceded by mental actions. Next bit I wrote, a conclusion. To create uncontaminated, pure, mental, verbal, and physical karma, we need to engage in virtuous practices, especially taking and giving, compassion, meditative equipoise, purification, preparation, prayers and requests, and tantric practices. Right, so pause for however long you want for your placement meditation. Thank you. Good night.